And as we continue this morning, our next topic is which opener is right for you? And Jason Steinley, Territory Manager with Dutch Openers, is here for that. So a little bit of background here on Jason. Jason grew up on a 4,000-acre family farm 8 miles northeast of Empress, Alberta, on the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. He left the family farm in the mid-90s and went on to work in the tire business. After marrying a Saskatchewan girl and having their first son, they decided it was time to return to Saskatchewan. Jason started with Dutch Openers in February 2013 as a territory manager for southern Saskatchewan, Manitoba. He now resides in Regina with his wife Marisa and their 2 sons Jake and Milo. Please welcome Jason Steinley.
Good morning, everyone. So he's kind of gone through my bio. I grew up in southwest Saskatchewan here. My background in family farm here, kind of started back in 1913 when my family originally settled in Canada here. And so we had, as you mentioned earlier, we had a 4,000-acre farm back home. Tried to do the best we can with the means we had. We were fairly low-budget farmers, and my dad was involved in the SSCA for 8 years as president, and so we kind of evolved our farm into a zero-till farm in the very late 80s, and then from there kind of got into the opener industry with Dutch, and there's kind of been no looking back since here. So because we've got 20 minutes for this presentation, the message is going to be fairly generic, but just so everybody knows, we're in barn 2. If you guys have got any questions after the presentation, you're welcome to come by and come by and see us here. So when it comes to seating here, we're all trying to figure out how to get emergence like this. One of the things that my dad always said is that we've got one chance every year to put our crop in the ground, and then we got a whole year to figure out how we're going to do it better next year. So we want emergence that starts out like this, that 2 weeks later looks like this. So how do we get these results out of our seeding tool? So we need to understand a few things about your seeding operations. So I'm going to go through a few commonly asked questions that we get asked in the booth at trade shows here regarding openers and just concerns that people come to us. So do you have any openers to fit my air seeder make and model? The answer is yes. Basically, we kind of cater to the hoe drill, and the new independent drill market is where Dutch primarily focuses our openers on, and so we've got basically something for every one of those units. Do you have the right opener for my farm and my specific soil types? And there's a lot of specific soil types and stuff that I've heard guys come up to you. We got loamy brown to gumbo to alkali clay. Will these openers meet my durability and wear requirements? Had a gentleman come to us a few years back with 6-bore Go Paralinks looking for a high-wearing, very durable opener. And I asked him, I said, well, what kind of soil conditions do you have? And he says, well, we farm in rocks. And it wasn't until I went out to his place when you're walking across the field and all of a sudden you're elevated and you're walking over this great big homesteader rock. And he says, we pick rocks for 3 weeks prior to seeding, and then we go around after and clean up all the stuff that we brought up with the air seeder. So just kind of goes to speak to the differences that we have in our farming in our region through the prairies here. So how narrow of an opener can I use while side banding fertilizer? What's safe for the seed and how close is too close? Is this style of opener available for use with my fertilizer types and still obtain my desired separation of my drill? There's a lot of interesting requests we get from different folks trying to do a lot of different things with their air seeding tools. So we've got guys that'll want to put down liquid fertilizer, granular fertilizer, seed, an orthophos seed placed, and I'll do that all in one pass with one opener. So there's a lot of unique requests that come our way, and I think we do a pretty good job of catering to that. So what type of opener do you have to fit my shank and spacing? So basically what a lot of people are asking is what can we do within the limitations of our drill. So what type of seed and fertilizer placement would this opener offer me? What's the ideal speed, and how does it handle seeding through or around muddy sloughs? That seems to be a pretty common topic, is not plugging openers, because nobody likes seeing strips in the field. So what's the cost of outfitting my drill with these openers? Well, we've got some fairly basic stuff to cater to some older machinery out there that starts at $80 an opener. I had one gentleman come to me last year that with an 84-foot seed hawk with 2 shanks, and to outfit his drill with exactly what he was after, we worked out to $485 a shank to $40,000 to do his entire drill. So there's lots of different ways to do it, and lots of different options out there. So I'm going to go over a few helpful tools for you guys within the industry. So we've got opener catalogs, and that's where a lot of guys basically we come out with our catalogs, and most of our competitors do as well at our Red Deer show. And so you'll see product from our opener catalogs from Dutch, from Borgo Tillage Tools, and the same from Adam Jet. All these guys have got really good tools within the industry here to help you, fairly user-friendly product guides to help you find the right opener for your drill. And another thing, big option out there is going through websites, from Dutch Openers to Adam Jet to Borgo Tillage Tools. All these guys have got really good websites that offer a lot of insight, and they're fairly user-friendly to navigate through. Product support on these websites. We see, we try to include on our website just installation instructions for openers, just some generic information to help you guys along the way with that. So another big resource is territory managers. All of these companies have reps that cover off each area within the grain belt. So they'll help you with product support, troubleshooting in season, help you through the opener selection process, and in most cases they're attending the majority of these trade shows, so we'd like to kind of put ourselves out there that way to be a tool for you guys as well. So another option that we have that I think is somewhat exclusive to Dutch is we have a build your own opener application on our website that we've been working hard over the last couple of years to put together so that you guys have an option, and it's basically a kind of a 7-step process to go through selecting the right opener for your air seeder. So that's going live later this week, and so next week anybody who wants to go on there and look for and seek out the right opener for their drill will be able to use that as a tool as well. So how do we get cereals that look like this? Well, at Dutch we've kind of broke this down to a bit of a 7-step process to choosing the right opener, and so I'm going to go through those steps with you guys here. So number 1 is seeder manufacturer model. We've got a lot of different options out there, and so and within those options there's a lot of people looking for very unique openers, and you'll drive down the road and find that no 2 farms do things the same way, and there's not one right way to do things. So at the end of the day, we try to cater to everybody and do the best we can to meet everybody's needs. So step 2, we get into shank style. What kind of shank do you have on your machine? Do you got a C shank? Is it an edge-on style shank? You got a newer independent drill? We've got something to cater to all that. So we go through all these different options. Move on to the next one here. So opener type, guys looking for seed or fertilizer or both. Combination of these two. Step 4, we look at your packer wheel width. So should be at least the same width as your opener. So if you've got a 4-inch packer, you don't want to put a 5-inch opener on there. The idea behind it is you want to be able to pack whatever you're placing in that seed row. So if you're running with a 4-inch opener, you want to stay in and under that 4 inches of width to get proper packing with your within your seed row. So step 5, we talk about opener capabilities. We go through single shoot, a double shoot, triple shoot. We've got guys coming to us with looking for quadruple shoot, side band, paired row, lots of different options that way. So in this slide here, there's kind of 3 different examples of openers. So there's on your left-hand side, you're going to see a single shoot opener. That guy is designed to just run your seed down into a 1-inch seed band. The second opener is a double shoot opener that side bands your seed, places your fertilizer down the center. And then our third opener we've got displayed here is a triple chute opener. So this guy puts seed down either side in a paired row, puts fertilizer down the center, and in this case, this one's applying liquid fertilizer and granular fertilizer down the center. So on this next slide, it basically shows you what these three openers look like in the ground. So this is what you see for when it comes to your 1-inch single chute opener. Basically just cuts a 1-inch furrow into the ground, places that seed. Your seed inverter, your second opener is a sideband opener that gets you 1 3/4 inch horizontal separation and 3/8 of an inch vertical separation. And then the third opener that we had displayed there shows a paired row with liquid fertilizer and granular fertilizer down the center. So going through all these different fertilizer types, from liquid to granular to NH3, which is ammonia anhydrous, to seed place orthophos, and lots of unique things that are being done down in the U.S. as well with mixing a lot of these in the soil. So let's go through and give this a try here, guys. We've got, give you a bit of a drill scenario here. So a farmer's got a 60-foot John Deere 1830 air drill, which I've had a few conversations this week about. He runs a granular fertilizer but wants to single shoot everything. He has a 4-inch semi-pneumatic packer, and he wants to spread as wide a spread as possible. He farms in very abrasive and rocky soil conditions and where plugging is never an issue. So which openers would you recommend for him? So for this specific scenario, a few things stand out to me. So we got a C-shank style drill, so we know which type of body we're bolting on there. We've got 10-inch spacing, so we know how much row space between the seed rows. We've got 4-inch packers, which tells us how wide we can go with our opener. And we've got where he's looking for a single chute opener. So with this, we've suggested a universal series. This gives you a 3-inch spread. And basically gets you seed and fertilizer, whatever you put down down through that opener out to a total of 3 inches. So where this works good with a 4-inch packer is that, at the end of the day, we're going to fracture just slightly more than 3 inches with our opener. So we're going to get out to say 3 to 3.5 inches in total width of seed row with that opener. So we want to make sure that that fits well within that 4-inch packer, and that we're going to get good packing across that furrow to help retain that moisture and get us the germination that we're after. So New Holland drill scenario, we've got a farmer who wants to buy some openers, is currently running Atom Jet openers, likes the vertical style but doesn't want to rebuild them anymore. He has 12-inch spacing on his drill, 3-inch steel packers. He's currently running 1/4-inch liquid system and farms in very abrasive land. So with this scenario here, a couple things stick out. So we've got a C-shank drill. We know what shank we're dealing with. He wants a replaceable tip, so we know we're going to offer him that. He's on 12-inch spacing. He's got 3-inch packers. He's got 1/4-inch liquid lines, and he's in very abrasive ground. So these are the two options that we would come up with. They're both a sideband liquid setup. One puts the one on the right, which is our vertical series opener, puts the liquid off to the side, the seed down the center. The one to the left of that is putting the seed down the side, putting the liquid down the very center of that opener. So for this gentleman who's in very abrasive soil, I would probably suggest the vertical opener, just due to the fact that we've got a little bit more carbide on it, and it will handle the abrasive soils a little bit better and give them a little bit better life. So another scenario is a farmer purchases a new Borgo 3320 air drill. Has 12-inch shank spacing, 4.5-inch pneumatic round packers. The customer utilizes liquid fertilizer and wants as much seed and fertilizer separation as possible. So what would we recommend? So if I look at this situation, he's got a 3320 independent PhD drill, so we know what type of shank we're dealing with. He's got 4.5-inch round packers, so we know what we've got for packer width. He's using liquid fertilizer as well, and he's on 12-inch row spacing. So for this guy, we're looking at our Universal Series sideband opener. This one drops the fertilizer down the center, 3/4 of an inch below the seed, puts the seed off to the side, an inch and 3/4 off to the side. So basically that gives you the separation and what that separation and what that seed and fertilizer placement looks like in the ground. So when you're going back to talk to your agronomist, a lot of guys will kind of come to us and say, you know, we've sat down with our agronomist, and this is what we want for seed and fertilizer separation, or this is what we want to do for a blend, and then they come to us after and say, okay, this is the opener that we're after. So with the combination of your agronomy, in addition to what the capabilities of your drill is, that basically gives you guys a bit of an idea of what it looks like in some of the stuff that we, the challenges that were presented by producers. So I'm going to move on to just some tips to getting the best seed placement, because at the end of the day, I think number one is seed placement and where we place that seed. So there's a lot going on back there behind you, and when you're running your drill across the field. So what I suggest guys do is take a lot of time, go through your machine as best you can, so you have a real good understanding as to what's happening at your opener. Watch your ground speed, especially with smaller seeds. One of the things that we see a lot is stepping between seed rows. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and the first row comes along, second one throws soil over top of that one, third one throws soil over the top of the second one, fourth one comes along, throws soil over the third row, and now that fourth row is not getting any extra soil thrown over top of it, and that's basically where we've kind of setting our base for our seed placement. So if we're seeing 3 buried rows and 1 good row, we've got, it tells us that we've either got, openers that are maybe slightly too wide, or we're going too fast for what we're trying to place to get that accurate seed placement. So, have a look at your airspeed. That's very important. Understand what's happening at your opener. There's lots of different theories on how you set your airspeed, but what I like to do is I like to look and see exactly what's happening at the opener, how that seed and fertilizer are coming out of there. If I've got the seed coming out either side of my paired row opener, and it's just dribbling out of that opener, getting awesome placement, but then I've got my airspeed and my fertilizer maxed, and that fertilizer is coming around down there and blowing that seed around and skewing that seed placement, then we're not helping ourselves with that. So that's something else to consider. So how does that seed look coming out of the opener? How does the fertilizer look coming out of the opener? And do we have our fertilizer airspeed set too high, and now it's affecting our seed placement? So at this point, guys, I'd like to open it up and see if anybody has any opener-related questions, or is there anything, situations that you guys are dealing with on your farm that you want to just talk through, or if there's any questions at all. Okay, if there's no questions at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to a little video here. So this was kind of an interesting one here. I was driving down the road. We were on a conference call, and I had my headset on, and I'm bombing down the road, and there's I see this guy sitting on the side of the road. So this air seeder sat in this box drill sat in a shed for 70 years, and these guys brought this thing out, and they seed just about 10 miles north of Raymore, and they do the same little section every year. So when you're looking at your own operation and thinking you're not getting the best seed and fertilizer placement, this is what it looked like in 1905.
This is what seeding looked like in 1905. Could you imagine?
Could you imagine? Compared to what we have today, that'd be a pretty long day out there in the field. So kind of put things into perspective and gives you a little perspective on, you look up, and I was talking to my dad last night on the phone, and he said, we use something not much different than that up until the late 80s. So in the last 20 years, the technology in this stuff has come a long way. And a lot of our opener designs are farmer-driven designs. So we basically take a lot of feedback from you guys, and a lot of that goes into what we work on and what we design out there. So, I guess at the end of the day, we just ask that you guys keep coming to us with new ideas and different ways to make these machines operate and work better for you. So at this time, I'd like to close out my presentation. If there's no more questions, we'll move on to the next guy.
Any questions? Yeah. Any questions from the floor? Nobody? When I came to Manitoba back in 1982, I remember seeing the farmers seeding with diskers. Anybody remembers the Discers back 35, 40 years ago? That's a different kind of an opener too, eh? That's kind of a little
100%.
bit like that video you were showing there, actually.
Well, yeah, and that was 1905 technology, so
Yeah, so...
you know, think of that
anyway,
kind of
so
carried
even in
through
our-
to the late 80s.
Even in our lifetime, things have changed very quickly. Thank you very much, Jason, and
Thank
to
you.
your assistant as well. So I didn't introduce you before.